When Erica Johnson, a highly qualified black educator, is appointed as the new headmaster of Riverdale, an elite private school known for its deep-rooted traditions, she steps into a world that isn't ready to welcome her. Her progressive ideas and commitment to inclusivity quickly clash with the old guard led by influential parent Richard Hayes, who is determined to drive her out. As tensions rise and battle lines are drawn, Erica faces a choice: conform to the status quo or fight for a more inclusive future for all students. With the support of a few brave allies among the teachers, parents, and students, Erica takes on the challenge, knowing that her every move is being scrutinized. Can she break down the barriers of prejudice and privilege and reshape Riverdale's legacy, or will the forces against her prove too strong? Stay tuned to find out how one woman's determination sparks a revolution in a place where change is least expected. If you're interested in stories of resilience, justice, and the fight against deeply entrenched biases, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful narratives that challenge the status quo. The prestigious private school, Riverdale, sat nestled in an affluent neighborhood, surrounded by manicured lawns, ivy-covered brick buildings, and stately trees that whispered of a long history. Known for its strict academic standards and exclusivity, Riverdale was not just a school. It was an institution where only the best could thrive. Its halls were filled with children of the wealthy and powerful, and its alumni included senators, CEOs, and celebrities. Change was not a word often welcomed in these parts. For as long as anyone could remember, the school had been led by white men, stern, stoic figures who upheld the school's long-standing traditions. But now, for the first time in its history, the board had appointed a black woman, Erica Johnson, as the new headmaster. Her arrival marked a significant shift in the school's leadership, and not everyone was happy about it. Erica Johnson was in her early 40s, with a confident presence and a sharp mind. She had been an educator for over 20 years, rising through the ranks with her innovative approaches to learning and a deep commitment to inclusivity. With her natural hair styled in neat braids, she carried herself with a grace that spoke of inner strength. She had faced opposition before, but this was different. Riverdale was an old guard, and they were not ready to be challenged. On her first day, Erica walked through the grand iron gates of Riverdale, her heart steady, her mind sharp. She wore a tailored navy suit and carried a leather briefcase. Her stride was purposeful as she approached the main building, aware of the eyes following her every move. Parents dropping off their children, teachers gossiping in small clusters, and even the students, curious and judgmental, watched her closely. Inside the building, Erica's steps echoed through the marbled hallways. She could feel the history here, the old paintings of previous headmasters, all stern-faced white men, the smell of polished wood and aged books. She knew she was walking into a place steeped in tradition and was prepared for the resistance that came with it. She was greeted at the entrance by Helen Thompson, the head secretary, who had been with the school for 30 years. Helen, a woman in her 60s with silver hair tied in a bun, looked her up and down, her expression neutral. "Good morning, Miss Johnson," Helen said, her tone polite but devoid of warmth. "Good morning, Helen," Erica replied, offering a smile. "It's a pleasure to finally meet you. I'm looking forward to working together." Helen nodded curtly, gesturing for Erica to follow her. "The board asked me to show you to your office and go over the schedule for the day." As they walked, Erica noticed the subtle glances and whispers from staff and students. She caught snippets of conversation. "Is that the new headmaster? She doesn't look like the others. She's different." Erica maintained her composure, her expression calm but determined. She had heard it all before, and she was ready for whatever was coming. Upon reaching her new office, Erica took a deep breath and entered. It was a spacious room with large windows overlooking the school grounds. The walls were lined with shelves filled with books, and a large mahogany desk sat in the center. A chair behind it looked like a throne, perhaps intended to reflect authority and power. Erica smiled to herself, knowing that her authority wouldn't come from a chair, but from her actions. Just as she was settling in, the door opened without a knock. A tall man in his late 50s, wearing an expensive suit, entered. He had a stern face with sharp features and a cold demeanor. This was Richard Hayes, one of the most influential parents at Riverdale and a vocal opponent of Erica's appointment.
"Ah, Miss Johnson, I presume," he said, his voice clipped and condescending. He didn't offer a hand. "Yes, and you must be Mr. Hayes," Erica responded, standing to greet him, extending her hand anyway. "Nice to meet you." Richard ignored her hand and looked around her office as if inspecting a new acquisition. "I've been on the board for over a decade. I know what's best for this school, and I must say, I have my reservations about your qualifications." Erica remained calm, lowering her hand. "I appreciate your concerns, Mr. Hayes, but I assure you, my qualifications speak for themselves. I'm here to build upon the great history of Riverdale and take it to new heights." Richard's lips curled into a thin smile. "New heights? The school has thrived for over a century without any drastic changes. I'm sure you understand why some of us might be concerned about your ideas." Erica met his gaze evenly. "Change is never easy, Mr. Hayes, but it's often necessary. I believe in creating an environment where every student can thrive, regardless of their background. That's the Riverdale I envision." Richard's eyes narrowed slightly. "Well, Miss Johnson, the board and I will be watching your performance closely. This school has traditions, and we intend to keep it that way." With that, he turned and walked out, leaving Erica alone in her office. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the challenge ahead. She knew this wouldn't be easy, but she was not one to back down. Later that day, Erica had her first meeting with the faculty and parents. She stood at the front of the room, looking out at a sea of skeptical faces. Some teachers, mostly older ones, crossed their arms and exchanged glances. The parents, especially those like Richard Hayes, sat with furrowed brows and pursed lips. "Good afternoon, everyone," Erica began, with a calm yet confident voice. "Thank you for coming. I'm excited to be here and to work with all of you to make Riverdale the best it can be." She could see Richard whispering to a parent next to him, both of them shaking their heads. Undeterred, she continued. "I have a few ideas I'd like to share," Erica said. "I believe we can enrich our curriculum by incorporating programs that focus on emotional intelligence, social awareness, and community engagement. These are crucial skills for our students as they navigate the world beyond these walls." A hand shot up from the back. It was Linda McCarthy, a vocal parent known for her conservative views. "Miss Johnson, with all due respect, why should our children be taught things like social awareness? Isn't that just another word for pushing an agenda?" Erica smiled gently, choosing her words carefully. "Not at all, Mrs. McCarthy. These programs are about fostering empathy and understanding, preparing our students to be well-rounded individuals who can think critically and lead with compassion. These are skills that benefit everyone, regardless of background." Richard interjected, his voice loud and authoritative. "This school has always focused on academic excellence, Miss Johnson. We don't need to stray into these new, untested waters. If our current approach isn't broken, why fix it?" Erica held his gaze. "Because, Mr. Hayes, we're not just educating children to be good students. We're educating them to be good people.
The world is changing, and we need to prepare our students for that change. The room erupted into murmurs and whispers. Erica could sense the resistance, but also saw a few nodding heads. Not everyone was against her. She continued to speak, outlining her vision for a more inclusive and supportive school environment. But the meeting ended with mixed reactions. Some parents were intrigued by her ideas, while others, like Richard, left with even deeper frowns. As the room emptied, a young teacher named Alex, who taught history, approached Erica. "Miss Johnson," he began, his voice soft but earnest. "I just wanted to say that I appreciate what you're trying to do here. Riverdale could use a breath of fresh air." Erica smiled, feeling a glimmer of hope. "Thank you, Alex. I'm glad to know I have your support." He nodded. "You're not alone in this. There are a few of us who believe in what you're trying to accomplish. Don't give up." Erica nodded, grateful for his words. "Thank you, Alex. I won't." As she watched him leave, she knew the road ahead would be long and challenging, but she also knew she wasn't entirely alone. There were others like Alex who believed in a better future for Riverdale, and together they could make it happen. The days following Erica's first meeting were tense. Word spread quickly among parents and faculty about the new headmaster's radical ideas. Some viewed her proposals for change with curiosity and hope, while others, particularly those like Richard Hayes, saw them as a direct threat to the long-standing traditions of Riverdale. Erica was aware that she was walking a fine line, but she was prepared to push forward. It didn't take long for Richard to act. A few days after the meeting, Erica noticed that some of the parents were starting to mobilize. There were whispered conversations in the parking lot after school drop-offs, and parents' social media groups were abuzz with rumors and fear-mongering. Richard, being one of the wealthiest and most influential parents, led the charge. His rhetoric was simple yet effective. "Riverdale doesn't need to change. It's the new leadership that's the problem." Erica soon found out that Richard had organized a private meeting with other concerned parents, rallying them against her. His goal was clear: to gather enough signatures to petition the board to reconsider her appointment. He believed that if he could turn enough people against Erica, the board would have no choice but to replace her. That evening, Erica received a message from Alex, the supportive young history teacher, asking if they could meet. She agreed, and they chose a small cafe near the school, away from prying eyes. When Erica arrived, she saw Alex already seated at a corner table, nervously stirring his coffee. "Thanks for meeting me, Miss Johnson," Alex said, standing up to greet her. "I wanted to talk to you about something important." "Of course, Alex. And please, call me Erica," she replied, smiling as she sat down. Alex nodded, his expression serious. "I thought you should know. There's a group of parents, led by Richard Hayes, who are trying to undermine you. They're spreading all sorts of rumors and calling for your removal." Erica nodded, having anticipated something like this. "I appreciate you telling me, Alex. I suspected as much. But what worries me is how far they're willing to go to get what they want." Alex looked around, as if checking for eavesdroppers. "They're planning a petition and even considering going to the local press to tarnish your reputation. I just thought you should know what you're up against." Erica took a deep breath, her face set with determination. "Thank you, Alex. I won't let them intimidate me. This isn't just about me. It's about the future of the school. I'm not here to be popular. I'm here to do what's right for the students." Alex nodded, encouraged by her words. "Some of us are behind you, Erica. We want to help. Just let us know how." Erica smiled, grateful for his support. "I'm going to need all the help I can get. But for now, we need to be smart about how we handle this." Erica knew she couldn't fight this battle alone. Over the next few days, she began reaching out to other teachers, hoping to find more allies among the staff. She held informal meetings in her office, inviting teachers to share their thoughts and concerns. One afternoon, she met with Mary, the art teacher who had been at Riverdale for over a decade. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a soft-spoken demeanor, known for her unconventional teaching methods. "Mary," Erica began, after some initial pleasantries, "I wanted to hear your thoughts on the changes I'm proposing. How do you feel about them?" Mary took a moment to consider her response, then spoke carefully. "I've been here a long time, Erica, and I've seen how things work around here. There are some who think Riverdale is perfect as it is, but I disagree. I've seen students who don't fit into the mold, who struggle because they don't see themselves reflected in the curriculum or the culture. I think your ideas could make a real difference." Erica's face lit up with hope. "I'm glad to hear that, Mary. I know change can be difficult, but it's necessary. And it's encouraging to know that there are teachers like you who understand that." Mary smiled softly. "I'm with you, Erica. Let me know how I can help." With allies like Alex and Mary, Erica started to feel more confident about her chances of succeeding. She also reached out to students, inviting them to share their experiences and suggestions for improvement. She wanted to build a coalition of voices that would speak for change. During one of these sessions, a group of students approached her with a proposal. They were led by Jamie, a bright and outspoken junior who was known for her activism. "Miss Johnson," Jamie began, her tone direct and passionate, "we've been talking and we think the school needs more student involvement in decision-making. We want to form a student advisory council to work with you on these new programs." Erica was impressed by their initiative. "I think that's a fantastic idea, Jamie. Let's work on making that happen." Jamie beamed. "Thank you, Miss Johnson. We believe in what you're doing, and we want to be a part of it." However, not everyone was as supportive. Several parents who sided with Richard began to actively sabotage Erica's efforts. They started by withdrawing their children from new programs and organizing boycotts of school events. Some parents even went so far as to demand that their children not be taught by any teachers who were openly supportive of Erica. At a faculty meeting, tensions came to a head when a parent, Mrs. Bradford, confronted Erica directly. Mrs. Bradford was a well-known figure in the community, often seen at charity events and social gatherings. She was also one of Richard's closest allies. "Miss Johnson," Mrs. Bradford began in a clipped tone, standing up in the middle of the meeting, "I'm concerned about the direction this school is heading under your leadership. Parents like me chose Riverdale because of its traditions and values. We don't want our children exposed to these, experimental programs you're promoting." Erica remained calm, her expression neutral. "I understand your concerns, Mrs. Bradford, but I believe that education is about more than just academics. It's about preparing our students to be compassionate, thoughtful citizens of the world." Mrs. Bradford scoffed. "This sounds like political indoctrination, not education." A murmur of agreement rippled through some of the parents in the room. Erica could feel the weight of their stares, the judgment in their eyes. But she stood firm. "I assure you, Mrs. Bradford, there is nothing political about teaching empathy and respect. These are universal values that benefit all students." Richard, who had been silently observing from the back, decided to speak up. "Miss Johnson, if you continue down this path, you risk losing the support of many parents. Are you prepared for that?" Erica met his gaze head-on. "I'm prepared to do what's right for the students, Mr. Hayes, and I believe that Riverdale's community is stronger than a few loud voices. Change is never easy, but it is necessary." The tension in the room was palpable. Erica could see that Richard and his allies were not going to back down. They were prepared to fight tooth and nail to maintain the status quo. A few days later, Erica found a threatening note slipped under her office door. It was anonymous, scrawled in jagged handwriting. "Leave Riverdale or else. We won't let you destroy our school." It was clear that some were willing to go to extreme lengths to get rid of her. Erica took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. She knew she had a choice to make. She could either give in to the pressure and leave, or she could stand her ground and continue fighting for the changes she believed in. She decided on the latter. That evening, she gathered her thoughts and called a meeting with her closest allies, Alex, Mary, and Jamie, along with a few other supportive teachers and students. They met in her office, the atmosphere tense, but filled with a sense of purpose. "I received a threat today," Erica began, showing them the note. "It's clear that some people are afraid of the changes we're making, but I'm not backing down. We have to push forward, but we need to be strategic. We need to show the board and the wider community the value of what we're doing." Alex nodded, his face set with determination. "What's the plan, Erica?" "We're going to organize a Day of Open Doors event," Erica said. "We'll invite parents, students, community leaders, anyone who cares about the future of this school. We'll show them what inclusivity looks like in action." Mary added, "And we can showcase some of the students' projects that reflect these new values. Let them see the positive impact firsthand." Jamie chimed in. "We'll make sure the student council is there to speak to the parents directly. If they hear from us, maybe they'll start to understand." Erica smiled, feeling a renewed sense of hope. "Exactly. This is our chance to turn the tide. Let's show them what Riverdale can be." With the plan set, they got to work, each person taking on a role to ensure the event's success. They knew it wouldn't be easy, but they were ready for the challenge. The weeks leading up to the Day of Open Doors were a whirlwind of preparation, tension, and undercurrents of resistance. Erica knew that this event was her chance to turn the tide, but she also knew that Richard and his allies would not sit idly by. The school was buzzing with talk about the upcoming day, some with excitement, others with skepticism. Erica knew that to make the Day of Open Doors a success, she needed more than just supportive students and a few teachers. She needed to build a coalition of parents and community leaders who believed in a more inclusive Riverdale. She began reaching out to parents she thought might be open to her vision, those who had previously expressed support for her ideas, or who had stayed neutral in the brewing conflict. One evening, she met with Grace Daniels, a parent whose daughter, Lily, was one of the few black students at Riverdale. Grace was a local business owner, known for her strong community presence and progressive views. "Grace," Erica began, as they sat in a small cafe in town, "I know you've seen the kind of resistance I'm facing at the school. I need your help. We need to show the board that the Riverdale community is ready for change, and that means bringing parents like you on board." Grace nodded, her expression serious. "I'm with you, Erica. I've seen how my daughter has been treated, sometimes subtly, sometimes not so subtly. She's strong, but no child should have to fight for their place in a school like this. What do you need from me?" Erica smiled, relieved to have Grace on her side. "I need you to help rally other parents, those who believe in what we're trying to do. We need them at the event, speaking out in support. The more voices we have, the harder it will be for Richard and his group to dismiss us." Grace's eyes narrowed with determination. "Consider it done. I know a few parents who are tired of the old ways. I'll make some calls." With Grace's help, Erica began to build a network of supportive parents who were willing to stand up against the conservative faction led by Richard. Slowly but surely, she was gathering the allies she needed. As the Day of Open Doors approached, the tension in the school continued to rise. Erica and her team worked tirelessly to prepare. The event would include presentations from students, interactive workshops led by teachers, and panels on the importance of inclusivity in education. Jamie and the student council were tasked with organizing a student-led discussion on the value of a diverse and supportive school environment. One evening, as Erica and her team were finalizing the schedule in her office, Mary, the art teacher, brought up a concern. "Erica, I've heard some rumors," she said cautiously. "There's talk that Richard and his group are planning to disrupt the event. They might try to turn it into a spectacle to discredit you." Erica sighed, feeling the weight of the constant battle. "I suspected as much. We need to be prepared for anything. If they want to play dirty, we'll show them that we can stand firm with dignity." Alex, who had been quiet up until now, chimed in. "Maybe we should have some security, just in case things get out of hand. We don't want anyone getting hurt." Erica nodded. "Good idea, Alex. I'll look into it. But we're not going to let them intimidate us. This is our chance to show the board and everyone else what we're capable of." The day finally arrived, and Riverdale's campus was bustling with activity. Parents, teachers, students, and even local community members filled the halls and classrooms. The atmosphere was tense but charged with anticipation. Erica walked around, greeting guests and making sure everything was running smoothly. She wore a bright, confident smile, even as she felt the butterflies in her stomach. The first part of the event went off without a hitch. The student presentations were compelling, with Jamie and her peers speaking passionately about the need for inclusivity and diversity in their education. Parents and community members were visibly moved by the students' words, some even nodding in agreement. But as the day progressed, the tension began to mount. Richard and his group of parents hovered at the edges of the crowd, their expressions stern and disapproving. Erica could see them whispering among themselves, and she knew they were planning something. During a panel discussion on emotional intelligence and social justice, things came to a head. Richard stood up in the middle of the room and interrupted the speaker, a young sociology professor who had been invited to speak. "This is outrageous," Richard shouted, his voice booming across the room. "This is not what Riverdale stands for. We didn't send our children here to be indoctrinated with this nonsense." A hush fell over the room as everyone turned to look at Richard. The professor, caught off guard, paused and looked to Erica for guidance. Erica, sensing that this was the moment she had been preparing for, stood up and faced Richard. "Mr. Hayes," she said, her voice calm but firm, "this is a place of learning and open dialogue. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, but I ask that you show respect to our guest speaker and to the other attendees who are here to learn and engage." Richard sneered. "Respect? You want to talk about respect? How about respecting the traditions of this school? How about respecting the parents who pay good money to keep this school running? We didn't ask for this circus." Murmurs of agreement rose from a few of Richard's allies in the crowd, but Erica remained composed. "Traditions are important, Mr. Hayes," she said, "but they should not be used as a shield against progress. This school belongs to everyone, students, parents, teachers, and it's time we make it a place where everyone feels welcome." Richard was not deterred. "This is just the beginning," he declared, turning to address the crowd. "If we let this continue, what's next? Lowering our academic standards? Letting just anyone walk through these doors?" At this, a voice rang out from the back of the room. It was Grace Daniels. "My daughter has earned her place here, just like any other student, Mr. Hayes," she said sharply, "and she deserves to feel safe and supported. If that's what you're afraid of, then maybe it's time for some change." A ripple of applause spread through the room. Other parents began to stand up, voicing their support for Erica and her vision for the school. Erica could see Richard's face reddening with anger, but she knew the tide was turning. As the applause died down, Richard, clearly enraged, stepped forward again. "Enough of this," he shouted. "I won't stand by and watch this school be torn apart by this experiment." Before Erica could respond, Jamie, the student council leader, stood up. "Mr. Hayes, with all due respect, you don't speak for all of us," she said, her voice steady and strong. This school is for everyone, not just those who fit into a certain mold. We want a school that reflects the real world, a world that is diverse and inclusive. Richard looked around, realizing he was losing control of the room. "You'll regret this," he spat, turning and storming out, followed by his allies. But as they left, more parents stood up in support of Erica, creating a powerful and undeniable wave of solidarity. Erica took a deep breath, feeling a surge of emotion. "Thank you," she said, addressing the crowd. "Thank you for standing up for what's right. Today we've shown that Riverdale is ready for change." The event continued, and despite the disruption, it was a resounding success. The board members who attended were visibly impressed by the turnout and the overwhelming support for Erica's vision. With the success of the Day of Open Doors, Erica felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. However, she knew that Richard would not back down easily. True to form, Richard escalated his campaign against her, taking his grievances to the local media and putting pressure on the school board to conduct an official review of her leadership. The board, caught in the middle of a growing divide, decided to conduct an independent review of Erica's initiatives and their impact on the school environment. They hired an outside consultant to assess the situation, and over the next few weeks, parents, teachers, and students were called upon to give their testimonies. Erica prepared diligently, gathering data, testimonials, and evidence of the positive changes she had implemented. She had the support of many, but she knew that Richard and his group would be just as prepared to fight against her. The day of the review arrived, and the atmosphere was tense. The board members, dressed in their finest suits, sat at a long table at the front of the room, while the consultant, a stern-looking woman named Dr. Collins, took notes on a laptop. Richard and his allies sat on one side of the room, glaring at Erica and her supporters. Dr. Collins began the proceedings with a formal tone. "Thank you all for being here today. We are here to assess the impact of the recent changes at Riverdale under Miss Johnson's leadership. We will hear from various stakeholders, and I ask that everyone remain respectful during this process." Richard was the first to speak, his voice dripping with disdain. "Riverdale has always been a school of excellence, but in recent months, it has become a battleground for social experiments. Miss Johnson's initiatives are divisive and unnecessary. We don't need to fix what isn't broken." Dr. Collins listened carefully, her expression neutral. "Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Now, we will hear from those who support the new changes." Erica's heart raced as Alex, the history teacher, stood up. "I've been at Riverdale for several years," he began, "and I've seen how things work here. Miss Johnson's initiatives aren't about division. They're about inclusion. Since these changes have been implemented, I've seen students who were once marginalized now thriving." Next, it was Jamie's turn. "I've been a student here for 3 years," she said, her voice unwavering. "Before Miss Johnson came, I didn't feel like my voice mattered. Now, I feel empowered. She's given us a reason to believe that Riverdale can be better." Dr. Collins nodded, taking notes. "Thank you, Jamie. We will take all of these testimonies into account." The proceedings continued for several hours, with voices on both sides making their cases. But as the day wore on, it became clear that the majority of testimonies were in favor of Erica and her vision for the school. The evidence of positive change, improved student engagement, reduced incidents of bullying, and a more inclusive environment was overwhelming. In the midst of the review, an unexpected voice spoke up. It was Karen Wallace, a parent who had previously supported Richard. She was known for her conservative views, but today she looked nervous, her hands trembling slightly. "I've been on Richard's side," she admitted, her voice quivering. "I believed that Riverdale should stay the same. But I've seen a change in my daughter since Miss Johnson took over. She's more confident, more open-minded. I've realized that maybe, just maybe, I've been wrong about what's best for our children. A murmur spread through the room. Richard looked visibly shocked, his face reddening with frustration. Erica couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. She knew that if someone like Karen could change her mind, then maybe others could too. After hours of testimonies and deliberations, the board members gathered to announce their decision. The tension in the room was palpable as everyone waited with bated breath. The board chairman, Mr. Thompson, stood up and cleared his throat. After careful consideration of all the evidence presented, we, the Board of Riverdale, have decided to support Miss Johnson and her vision for the school. A wave of relief washed over Erica, and a cheer erupted from her supporters. Richard's face twisted with anger, but he remained silent, knowing that he had lost. We believe that Riverdale must evolve to meet the needs of all its students, Mr. Thompson continued. Miss Johnson's leadership has shown a commitment to that evolution, and we stand behind her efforts to create a more inclusive and supportive environment. Richard, realizing his defeat, stood up abruptly and stormed out of the room, followed by his dwindling group of allies. The room erupted in applause, and Erica felt tears of relief and joy welling up in her eyes. With the board's decision to support Erica, the path was now clear for her to continue her work. The tension that had once gripped Riverdale began to ease, and a new sense of optimism filled the halls. Erica knew that the real work was just beginning, but she was more determined than ever. Erica wasted no time in implementing her vision for the school. She expanded the inclusivity programs, introduced new courses on social justice, and created a mentorship program that paired older students with younger ones to foster a sense of community and support. The first assembly after the board's decision was a pivotal moment. Erica stood on the stage of the school's grand auditorium, looking out at the students, parents, and teachers who filled the seats. Today marks a new chapter for Riverdale, she began, her voice strong and confident. We've shown that we are a community that values every voice, every experience, and every person. Together, we are building a school that reflects the best of all of us, a place where everyone feels welcome and empowered. The applause that followed was deafening. For the first time, Erica felt that the school was truly united in its mission. As Erica continued her work, she received a surprising call from Richard Hayes. He wanted to meet. She hesitated but decided to give him a chance. They met in her office, and Richard, for the first time, seemed humbled. "I wanted to apologize," he said, his tone sincere. "I've been resistant to change, and I see now that I was wrong. I'm not asking for forgiveness, but I wanted you to know that I respect what you've done here." Erica was taken aback, but nodded. "Thank you, Richard. It takes courage to admit when you're wrong. I hope you'll continue to support the school moving forward." Richard nodded and left, leaving Erica with a sense of closure. She knew there would always be challenges, but she also knew that Riverdale was on the right path. Months passed, and Riverdale became a model for other schools. It was no longer just a place for the wealthy elite. It was a school that welcomed all who sought to learn and grow. Erica's leadership had transformed the culture, and the impact was felt far beyond the school's gates. As Erica walked through the halls, she was greeted with smiles and waves from students and teachers alike. She had faced fierce opposition, but she had stood her ground and shown what true leadership looked like. And as she watched a group of diverse students working together on a project in the school's courtyard, she knew that this was only the beginning. Riverdale's story was still being written, and she was proud to be a part of it. The end.